Hi everyone, this is Anne Cairns. I'm the Vice Chair of Mastercard and I'm also the Global Chair of the 30% Club. I'm absolutely delighted to be with you and to talk to you today. Thank you. It's affected them a lot because basically 2/3 of the job losses around the world have been lost by women. And that's because women are in many different industries where they've been shut down during the pandemic. For example, a good example would be the hospitality industry. Um, Research that's been done in America for women in the corporate world is now saying that 1/4 of women are thinking of leaving their jobs because they found it so tough to do their job and look after their families, all the homeschooling. And actually, just before Christmas in America, the net job losses were 140,000 people. 156,000 of them were women because men actually gained roles. And Kamala Harris, who is the vice president now in America, has said that this is a state of national emergency, the job losses that women are experiencing. And it's not just the developing world, there's a big knock-on effect to the developed world. Yes, women entrepreneurs, before the crisis, there were about 110 million women entrepreneurs around the world. But they didn't really get the same support as men. For example, women only have about 65% of the bank accounts on a global basis. And I know that if we actually look at Pakistan, that number actually drops to something like 18%. And I believe in Pakistan, women entrepreneurs are something like 1% of all the entrepreneurs in the country. So I think there's a long way that we can go to actually help women. And in Mastercard, we decided we would bring 50 million more SMEs into the financial system by 2025. And instead of just going after a natural number of women entrepreneurs as part of that, we said, why don't we make it 50-50? Let's go after 25 million women SMEs. And that's the kind of pledge that I think you need from technology companies, from banks, from people who are building infrastructure, and indeed governments to actually help kickstart economies, especially after COVID. Absolutely, we're optimistic because we feel there is huge headroom to grow. And we're working with CARE International right now to reach 45,000 entrepreneurs, and 30% of those are going to be women. And we're actually looking at a number in the future where we extend that to something like 250,000 entrepreneurs in Pakistan. And as we go into the future, we want 50% of that number to be women. That's our targets for the country. And we think that this is achievable. But obviously with that has to come things like financial education. And thinking about starting with girls as well, teaching girls how to code, teaching girls how to work in the technology industry. And one of the programs that we have around the world is our Girls for Tech program, which we've rolled out to 1 million girls right now. And you're targeting young girls around, 12 to 14. And you're saying, keep up your science and your maths and your STEM subjects at school because technology is really important for the future. And we will roll that out to Pakistan in the future as well, because our new target for that program is 5 million girls globally. And we've already launched it in Dubai, we're going for Morocco, we've just launched it in Saudi. So there's many countries now around the world that we're operating in. And this can make a real difference. And I think that girls are eager to learn and they're eager to play their part in society and support their families. Because, if you educate a woman and you actually allow her to earn an income, she will put that money back towards her own children and she'll put that money back towards the community that she lives in. So it's good for the country if we can get that working. Well, I think that first of all, I know that you have a woman deputy governor of your central bank, Samia Kamil, and I think that women at that level in society can do two things. One is they can be role models for other women coming up through education, university, society, and seeing that they can reach this level in very important institutions in Pakistan. The other thing that they can do is work with the men in the institutions to actually, put measures in place that would head towards more gender balance across the country. Because actually it's the men that can make a difference. One of my roles as global chair of the 30% Club is to work with men all over the world, because men are still 95% of the CEOs and the chairs of big companies in the world. I've got 1,200 members, about 900 CEOs and about 300 chairs. And these are massive companies. Well, Mastercard's in there, but you've got the likes of Citibank, Coca-Cola, BP, Shiseido in Japan. We're across 20 countries. And the way this works is that it's the men who've stood up and said, I want to have more gender parity at my senior management table, and I want it on my board. And they've committed to have at least 30% women in both those places. And I know that HBL Bank in Pakistan, who's run, which is run by a good friend of mine and colleague from ABN AMRO days, they're committing to try and go for a 40% target. So I really applaud them, and I hope they're very successful. Well, I think their role is huge, because I think that financial inclusion these days almost always starts with digital inclusion. And I think that these players will be looking at the women's market, which is largely unexplored in many parts of the world, and seeing that it's a huge untouched area for them to expand in quickly. And I think they will gear their products up to match the needs of women. In fact, we're talking to hundreds of fintechs around the world to do that through the Financial Alliance for Women, which I also chair, which is a global organization reaching 200 countries and has some of the biggest banks in the world involved in that as well. It's a peer-to-peer learning system. And what the results are showing us is that when banks actually launch women-focused portfolios, they do really well, because the women pay the loans back with a high rate, so they don't default on their credit. And also that once they get active on systems, they tend to be much more active than their male peers. So this is a big market, the she economy it's called. It's a massive market. And, if women took their place alongside men in the world's economy, it's estimated on a lifetime basis that we would generate 173 trillion more dollars economically for the world. That's just to give you an idea of the size of the prize of making this happen. And I think the fintechs and the digital banks can move quickly to do that. And they can adapt their technology to work across lots of different platforms to reach people in different ways. So I think they're ideally placed to help women in Pakistan, but to help them globally. So look, my message is that education's really important, to feel that you've learned something and you could apply it to actually help support your family, develop yourself, and do something so valuable with your own life, and something that would actually help your own community. Is such a compelling thing to do. And I think that during COVID, we've realized how much more important this is. So my personal message is, please, if you can take your education as far as you can, and then invest in teaching yourself beyond that through the internet and through any sources that you can get access to, then do it, because it will change not just your lives, but the lives of everybody around you. Thank you.